Louis Quilico was one of the leading operatic baritones of the 20th century. His sudden passing on July 15th, 2000 was a great loss to the musical world. Quilico performed at many of the world's great opera houses: Covent Garden, the Paris Opera, the Bolshoi, and the Vienna Staatsoper, to name only a few. He was a stalwart of the Metropolitan Opera, appearing nearly 300 times over 25 consecutive years. At the Met, he sang under the baton of James Levine, Zubin Mehta, Richard Bonynge and Claudio Abbado, and alongside tenors including Luciano Pavarotti, Placido Domingo, John Vickers and José Carreras, and sopranos Joan Sutherland, Renata Tebaldi, Renata Scotto, and Beverly. Louis Quilico was an ideal interpreter of the great Italian and French composers, but it was his defining portrayal of Rigoletto, the hunchbacked jester in Verdi's tragic masterpiece, that won him international acclaim, as well as the nickname Mr. Rigoletto. He sang the role more than 500 times, the last being at the National Arts Centre in Ottawa in September of 1994. After his retirement from the operatic stage in 1998, he continued to perform, touring extensively with his wife, the celebrated pianist Christina Petrowska Quilico. Together they made 4 recordings and a teaching video, and collaborated on the book Mr. Rigoletto in Conversation with Louis Quilico. In this book, Quilico shared his views on singing, on opera, and on his signature role, Rigoletto. He also talked about his own personally devised vocal techniques, sharing them with a new generation of singers. What is missing in the printed version of these conversations is Quilico's own voice and his unique personality. In these recordings, we hear him speak in his own words, with his own voice, unfiltered and unedited. Speaking personally, baritone Louis Quilico, Mr. Rigoletto, in conversation with Christina Petrowska Quilico. In this conversation, Louis shares his views on the teaching of singing and talks about the different roles of voice teacher, vocal coach, and accompanist, or collaborative pianist.
We've come to the section that I would like to call personal thoughts. Some rather private questions. I've been very careful in trying to keep the questions as professional as possible because I really want this book to be more of educational value. I don't want it to be a vanity press type thing, and we've discussed that at great length. There are some tricky little problems that we have in writing this book, and I'm going to get right into it, and we'll talk a little bit about this problem that you have brought up before. The Ruby Mercer book talked about your first wife as being your voice teacher, and we've had numerous conversations on your feelings about a voice teacher. A voice teacher should be a professional singer or should at least have some knowledge about singing. And I found this extremely difficult, and we're going to have to be very diplomatic in how to put this in the book without hurting anybody. And we are basically challenging Ruby Mercer. And I'm wondering, I have heard from another source that things were said in tapes that she did, but somehow managed not to find their way into the book. I'm going to ask you a direct question. You can answer it, and we don't have to put this in the book, but for my own information too. When I was going through all your papers to do this research for the book, I guess I'm used to being scrutinized at the university if we don't have our I's dotted and our T's crossed. If we can't provide page numbers, we get called in, and we have to supply all the pertinent information. So I tend to be like that. As you know, we went through all your reviews. I called the Metropolitan Opera up to find the archives and to get things right. I'm sure there will be mistakes. There's always some kind of spelling error, but on the whole, at least I've tried to be as professional as possible in this book. So I will ask you the question. Now, it was written that you taught at the University of Toronto, and we will find appropriate information about that. But I know your name has been mentioned. Now, did she have a contract?
As I know, no. She was my assistant, but that's all. It was not a contract.
Okay, well, this is a little tricky. How are we going to do this? Let's go about it a different way. Tell me what you think a voice teacher should be. What would you like to see in a voice teacher? I know you've written some stuff out so that I asked you to write something about voice teacher.
Well, I have to,
and
I have to remember all these things.
because you've had to do it for your own teaching. So why don't you read what you have written about what you believe a voice teacher should be, and whether you really believe that a pianist can be a voice teacher.
One must define and refine the title of voice teacher. Vocal students should realize that there is an enormous difference between a voice teacher, a vocal coach, and repertoire pianist. Although pianists are enormously valued to the singer, an accompanist is not a voice teacher. My first wife was a great help to me, and as all other coach, especially from the Metropolitan Opera, as you are to me now, but she was not my voice teacher. Making suggestion and playing through repertoire does not make you a master teacher of voice. I feel to be a voice teacher, you must psychologically and physically know your voice as you sing, especially on a big stage, if you are teaching opera. The experience you achieve from singing with orchestra costume and chorus is crucial, especially in learning how to achieve proper balance and stamina. It is not the same in a studio. For many, many years, I have given my Oscar thank you speech, and in doing so, help create some of the fairy tale myth that's around me. But now I want my personal story told without professional or family obligation, my own journey as an artist, and what I did to achieve success in my own career. There were many wonderful coach and pianists at the Metropolitan Opera, Covent Garden, Paris Opera, and other company, which I should have credited for helping me and never have. Their experience with opera, their advice, there was incredibly for me. Also the artists. I have worked with Luciano Pavarotti, Placido Domingo, Mirella Freni, to name just a few. I've contributed enormously to my artistic life. One must not forget that opera is an ensemble art. However, the vocal technique that I have, which allow me to sing at 70, is my own unique creation and was a personal development which I am still working on. A true artist never stops searching.
Okay, so you've worked hard to make that very nice, and I'm glad to see you credit some of the Metropolitan Opera coaches there. I noticed you working with a number of them, and they're truly quite wonderful. And it's a special technique to be able to work at the Metropolitan Opera. We certainly know Joan Dorneman very well.
Oh yes,
From the Israel Vocal Arts Institute, and I remember being stunned by Linda Hall's fluent playing for the full staff. There I was practicing that fugue, and she would just sail away. It's because she knew the special techniques that conductors and these vocal
well, the point
people
is
use.
You forget one thing. When they're at the Metropolitan, they meet all kind of conductors that have studied, for instance, their the opera, the things that are a must in certain opera, and this is the reason. That's why the coach that you receive, the coaching you will receive in a place like the Metropolitan is incredible, of great value.
Was your first wife coach at the Met? I never read anything about it.
No, she never coached at the Met.
May I ask, we won't use this in the book.
Yeah.
How did that story come about that she was your teacher? Because I know from a source that she herself had said that she only learned from you anything to do with singing. This was on one of the tapes that Ruby did that a friend of mine managed to get a hold of. How did that come about, this complete change where in the book it says that she was the teacher?
I have to say one thing, that at the beginning of my career, she was a great help, tremendous help, especially musically. Vocally, I cannot say that she was a really great help because I had to form my voice myself.
Well, that's for sure, because a pianist is not going to be able to know the vocal technique unless they really study it. Did she study it at all?
Never. She never did. And that's the thing that really hurt me the most, because the thing is, when we were teaching together, I used to say to her, why don't you learn a very simple thing, how to breathe? And she said, always said, I am not a voice teacher, I am not a singer, and I don't want to learn that. I don't have the time. But I have the time of what? What she wanted to do. You see, this is a big problem.
Well, am I mistaken that maybe it's your lack of English skills that might have switched something that started as a help to being a teacher? Because there's a world of difference between saying that somebody helped me, but somebody's actually a professional coach at the Met. Not to be destructive about anybody, but we all have our specialties, we all have our niches, and I think it would be good for people to know, although I doubt whether we'll use this in the book, because it puts me on the defensive. Anything I say would always be viewed as something that I was being mean and nasty, but I have, as you know, reached a problem because I haven't been able to find much material on this, and so I have a feeling that there was a bit of language that interfered with saying the truth about it, because there is a difference in somebody playing the opera scores through and somebody actually teaching them.
You know, another thing that used to get me really mad, it's when I used to teach. We were both teaching together. We called that teaching. But all of a sudden a pupil would do something wrong, and I would stop the pupil. And she would get mad at me because I stopped the pupil. I said, it is not possible to keep the pupil go. You saw me teaching. When a pupil doesn't do right, what do? I stop him and I rephrase that. Think, what have you done there? If you let them go, how they going to remember what they have done wrong? They will never remember.
But she was not hired, was she?
No, she was not hired.
So this causes a bit of a problem. Maybe it's a little bit...
Well, listen, what can you do? It's for me, I needed peace. And for me to make her become an icon like she became, it was more easy for me to save myself and to be out of the reach of the tantrum or something like that.
Yeah, you'd said about World War III.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely not put this in the book. The other thing that was in the tapes of Ruby Mercer, which I think would have made a terrific book had she put more information, or had people been a little bit more open, because I think it's more interesting to see a person with doubts, a person's problems as well, not just successes. I would like to say what was on the tapes, and you probably don't even know that. You probably weren't around, but a source also said that on the tapes the question was raised about this concert pianist bit, about your first wife. Now, I wanted to put that in the book, and I went through all your papers and all the concert programs, and there was only one review of a solo concert, as she did, I guess, when she was a student in 1944, which was an okay review. Now, other than that, there were no concert programs or solo, unless you've been hiding them somewhere, but there is nothing. Can you verify this for me so that I'm not left...
There's none, because she never really did any concert after we got married. Now, she stopped there, and I don't know why, because she had the time. But according to her, she had no time.
Okay, well, what...
Another thing that I have to say, that you could never say that she was an accompanist. She was a concert pianist. That's what she always said.
Yeah, it's difficult, because concert pianist, and the next question is, where did she play, and where are the programs, and where the recordings? So this is a problem. I think that in this tape interview that she had done, she actually said, and I would love to get a transcript of it at some point, that she, I guess must have been early on, reached a level where she felt she could not go beyond to become a professional concert pianist. I actually find that very refreshing, because, and as I said, I wish that could have been put in the book, because it would show a person being honest and human. We all have our doubts, but unfortunately we're left with things that we're able to check. So if there's no hard copy, if there are no recordings, then it's very difficult to say something. I think that because I haven't found anything, there were a couple of reviews.
There was no review.
Well, of her accompanying you that
Oh,
that weren't very.
These were the only reviews.
Yeah. Well, I thought of diplomatically handling the situation by not saying much, but maybe putting a review or two of your recitals together. But the reviews were not very good. Then I'd be blamed for being destructive. So I think we will opt out and not mention much, and handle it that way. My feeling is that things that can be checked up, if they're false, they shouldn't be put in the book. So what else? I think we handled your inspiration at another interview, on another tape. Who was you? I remember you telling me the story of Deanna Durbin. Yeah, and Leonard Warren. You really liked that. Oh, the one thing that I wanted to ask, aside from that, was about Gino. And I believe I asked that question in another tape. And we also decided not to use much about him because it's very personal. It's difficult to talk about one's family. Isn't that true?
Listen, when you figure one thing, that already a book has been written, the way it was written, and it was supposed to be a book written on me, only on me. And the first thing I know, the whole family got into the book. It's not because I do mine. If it would have been said at the beginning, it would have been different. But that's not what it was supposed to be. And this is the thing that I'm deeply sorry. Why should we start to talk about things that have been said already in another book?
Also, if they're not factually correct, it would be very, very damaging, I think. I mean, we also have to do a little bit of damage control about this teaching business because it's hard. You can't, I don't know. How about... Okay, I know we're going to have a lot of problems with Gino because we didn't ask him to write the introduction. I would have been delighted to have him write something. However, well, you better talk about it. Things are a little unsettled.
There was no way to ask him anything because the thing is, it was World War III already in progression. That the reason we did not ask, there was no way you could ask.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the other thing is, I mean, I wouldn't want to have my children write about me because it's too personal. I can't even imagine asking Dominique to write something about me, and she would never ask me to write her even a reference letter because, if I say something negative, she'll be mad at me, and I have to live with her, and vice versa. So I'm just as happy because it's difficult. So we've had a lot of conversations about it, and you finally want who?
The what?
Finally, who do you want to write this little preface for you?
For my beautiful, lovable, and sweetie pie.
Oh no! Wait a minute. Oh well, that's really nice. We'll get to that in a minute. But no, which singer do you want?
Oh, the Mr. Anson. That's why I want him.
Thomas Hampson.
Yes, Thomas.
Yeah. So that's Yeah. I know you spent.
The reason why we asked him, and if Gino ever turns the thing around, like he already did in the letter, it's not a matter of this or that. But Thomas Hampson is a man that loves to teach. And I teach. And we look at things in a certain way, no matter what Gino's going to say or anybody will say, we look at the thing a little bit the similar way. And that is the reason why I thought to take him. And I have to say one thing. I don't dislike him as an artist.
No, he's pretty wonderful. I think you, as a teacher, are going to be promoting your students as well, and so that's very important.
I will add a little bit more to this. I never felt in danger. What I mean by this, with my career, by people like Warren or Robert Weedy or Robert Merrill, because the thing I've learned, and this is the point, there's a lot of artists that don't know how to stand on their 2 feet. First of all, learn. Why do you think these people became so great in a certain way, in their own way? For one reason, because they had mature, they knew what they were doing with their instrument, what I mean with their voice. But there's a lot of other people, they don't really know about that. And that is the big problem. And you cannot fool the public. You think you're fooling the public. You cannot fool the public.
No, you need to have your vocal technique completely down and be very secure with that. But I think there's lots of room for a lot of different artists. I would say that about pianists and about singers. I think you have to be generous in spirit.
Once upon a time, it was asked to me in New York, Mr. Quilico, aren't you jealous of Mr. Cheryl Mills? I says, why should I be jealous? Well, you know, he is a great singer and all that. I says, I know that. But the Cheryl can sing in all the theater at the same time. I says, I'm in demand. He's in demand. I said, why should I go around and thinking that I am, that Mr. Cheryl Mill will throw me out of the business? No. If you got something you give to the public, and this is the thing that I know that I have given, because the public always give me a standing ovation at the end of a performance, well, I'm sorry to say it. The rest of the artists should be doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's just too much jealousy and destructive behavior all over the place. I'm kind of sick and tired of it. I don't like it.
Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be at all, what do you call, approach in that way, because it's the opposite, you know?
Well, you had something that you wanted to read. You prepared for me, and so okay, let's hear it, and we'll see if we put it in the book or not.
To my dear wife, Christine Petrowska Quilico, what is so incredible for me is to be able to say that when I met my wife, Christina, I found the one true love of my life. In Christina, I have finally found an equal partner in love and music. She has an unsurpassed artistic quality which make performing with her such a great joy and so wonderful that I cannot compare to anything else. When we perform, we breathe and think musically as one. In our loving, which is so beautiful and perfect, our emotion and spiritual life together has made a tremendous impact on our life. Heaven was on my side because Christina is mine. I used to say, oh God, thank you for letting me breathe one more day, because I was thinking only of myself. But now I say, God, I thank you for letting me breathe one more day so that I can really cherish what has been given to me. My wife, Christina, and my singing voice.
Oh, that's really beautiful. My goodness, I'll have to frame that. Well, I feel the same way about you. Okay, now, what else?
You're quite a sweetie pie.
I can't think of a question now. You see, you've got me completely silenced.
Yeah.
got me lost for words.